Here we go, Cornelius Nepos. These people, as he saw them come, leaning on his elbow, his cubitum, he said, "How much care and diligence tuenda in valetudiname." So I've watched or devoted into towards my health, and I've been adhibio means applying or adding, or here it means devoting a lot of time for watching it through this time. When or since I have you as witnesses, testes, it is not necessary to commemorate or speak in more words or to speak more words. Since, as I hope, I've satisfied in these points, there's nothing left for me which pertains to me being able to be healed. So what remains is that I console for myself, I make plans for myself. So this I don't want you to be ignorant about, for it stands for me, or what's left for me, is to cease to be feeding this sickness. For in these days, whatever there is of food that I've consumed, thus it's been prolonging my life, he thought, and it's been increasing my pain without any hope of recovery or good health again. Therefore, I seek from you, first, that you approve my concilium, my plan, and then next, or then, don't conomini, which is the plural of the second person, don't try to impede it or stop it with any encouragement, which will all be in vain, frustras in vain. With this oration over, and he had such constancy and strength of his voice or determination, and in his face, it was as if he was not leaving from life, but going from his home. He seemed to be migrating into another home. He's going from his body to the heavens, I guess. Cum, when indeed, then, or whatever, Agrippa, he's crying, and he's kissing him, osculating. He begged him, and he beseeched him, not do this, which nature is forcing, that he should also be accelerating this. So nature is actually slowly killing him, and he does. And Agrippa's saying you shouldn't accelerate it. And since then also it's possible that in time you can overcome it, super se. And reserveret just means do this for yourself and for your family. Basically, there's a lot of pronouns there of the se sibi suis type. But the prayers of him he repressed or depressed or rejected with an obstinate sort of taciturnity, or staying silent basically. Thus, when 2 days he had abstained himself from kibum, which is food, suddenly the fever left, it deceded, and he began to have a lighter sickness, but nevertheless, in his purpose or propositum, he continued doing nothing differently. And so, on the 5th day, after he had entered into this plan, the day before the calends of April, the last day of March, when he had these guys consuls, he deceased, he died. 4. He was laded, lifted up into a lecticula, a litter, as he himself had given instructions, pray meaning before, he'd written this before, without any pomp of a funeral, and with everybody who was good accompanying him, and there was a great frequency of vulgar people there, common people. He was sepultused, he was buried next to the Via Appia at the 5th milestone, in the tomb or monument of this guy here, he's a vuncle, his mother's brother. Okay, Nepos on to Eumenes of Cardia. Of this guy, who is, if his fortune had not been par, which was given to him, it wasn't equal to his valour, then indeed he would not have existed or turned out greater. But he would have been more illustrious and even more honoured by much, because great men we measure by virtue, not fortune. So fortune helped him, but if he hadn't had fortune, he would have been more betterer. 2. When the age, this is like the period of time, which it happened in was in that time in which the Macedonians were flourishing. Okay, so his period of living was when the Macedonians were flourishing. Much was detracted amongst them to him who was living there because he was alien to that civilization. And not much was lacking to him other than he wasn't born generous, he wasn't born from a noble stock, really. Itzy, even if or although he, domestically at home, he was of the utmost great stock at home, nevertheless the Macedonians, they bore with indignity that he was antiponide to them, he was placed before them sometimes. But nevertheless, nequi non, which is double negative, so neither did they not suffer, it means nevertheless they did endure it. For he conquered all of them by his care, his vigilance, his patience, his cunningness, and the quickness of his character or his wit. Hick, this guy, when he was very adolescent, he was added to the friendship of Philippus, the son of this other guy. In a brief period of time, he reached into intimate familiarity with him, for he shone already in his adolescence. His inborn nature of his virtue was shining, and so Philip had him at hand in the place of a scribe or his secretary, which amongst the Greeks is more honoured by much than what the Romans consider as an honour. For among us, re vera, which means truly, they are just as they are thought as just as someone who is bought the right things as a scribe. But amongst them, e contrario, which is contrarily, no one is admitted to this office unless they're from an honest place in society, and they're trustworthy, and they are known for their industry and purposeness, because it is necessary for him to be a participant in all of the plans of the guy he's a secretary to. 6. He held this place of friendship with Philip for 7 years. With this guy dead, he held the same position or greatest with Alexander for 13 years. In this last bit of time, he was in charge even of one of the cavalry wings, which is called the Heterarchy. And moreover, in both of these guys' conciliums and these guys' war councils or whatever, he was always there, and he was considered a participant there in all of their matters. Okay, you could probably make participants the daily dictionary.